A Splash of Red, The Life and Art of Horace Pippin, written by Jen Bryant, illustrated by Melissa Sweet. On February 22nd, 1888, the town of Westchester, Pennsylvania celebrated a holiday. That day, in the same town, Daniel and Christine Pippin celebrated the birth of their son, Horace. Horace grew so fast that his mother could barely keep up with the mending. "He'll be a giant someday," the neighbors would say. Grandma Pippin smiled at Horace's long legs and big hands. She figured the neighbors were right. Grandma's hands were big too, rough and scarred from her slave days in Virginia, but they were just fine for giving Horace hugs. "The biggest part of you," she told him, "is inside, where no one can see." When Horace was 3 years old, the Pippins moved to Goshen, New York. As the family grew larger, everyone helped out. Horace put his big hands to work. He fetched flour for his mother. He sorted laundry with his sisters. He played with his baby brother. He held the horse while the driver delivered milk. At night, he piled wood for the stove and arranged dominoes so his grandmother could play. Then, if she could find a scrap of paper and a piece of charcoal, he drew pictures of what he'd seen that day. Horace loved to draw. He loved the feel of the charcoal as it slid across the floor. He loved looking at something in the room and making it come alive again in front of him. He loved thinking about a friend or a pet and then drawing them from the picture in his mind. At school, he sat quietly at his desk, but his big hands were always busy. "Make a picture for us, Horace," his classmates said, and Horace did. His pictures made people happy, except when he made some next to his spelling list. That made the teacher mad. But Horace couldn't stop drawing. "Pictures just come to my mind, and I tell my heart to go ahead." One day, Horace saw a funny face in a magazine. "Draw me and win a prize," it said underneath. Horace drew the face and sent it off. A few weeks later, a package arrived. Inside, Horace found colored pencils, a pair of brushes, and a box of paints. "Congratulations," said the note. Horace had won his first real art supplies. "Paint a picture for us, Horace," his sisters cried, and Horace did. He painted everyday scenes in natural colors. Then he added a splash of red. Horace was in 8th grade when his father left for good. The family needed money, so Horace quit school and went to work. For several years, Horace's big hands were always busy, stacking grain sacks at a feed store, shoveling coal at a rail yard, mending fences on a farm, carrying luggage at a hotel, and making brakes in an iron factory. Packing oil paintings into large wooden crates. Looking at these made Horace remember winning the art contest. How proud he'd been. How he'd loved those colored pencils, those brushes, and his first real box of paints. Horace was a big man now with big responsibilities. Still, he loved drawing as much as he always had. He used charcoal, broken pencils, whatever he could find. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the other workers said, and Horace did. So we'll stop the story for now, but look at this awesome picture Horace Pippin made when he was an adult. It's got all the details in a room: chairs, table, flowers. This is a picture of Horace Pippin when he was a grown-up, and he started to be very well known for his art. We're going to make a picture that's inspired by Horace Pippin, and to make our picture of an everyday room, we're going to paint our background. We're going to use brown and light brown. This is what our paper will look like when we're finished today. We're going to use brown on the bottom and then mix a beautiful light brown for the top. To start, Draw a line across the bottom third of your picture. Everything upwards is wall and everything downwards is going to be floor. As soon as your line is drawn and your name is small in the corner on the back with your class code, you can raise your hand to come get your paint and paintbrush. Miss Yao will bring you a messy mat to put behind your paintbrush is a flat brush, meaning it likes to be used to scoop some paint and then paddle it back and forth, spreading the paint smooth. This paintbrush is built to add a nice coat of paint back and forth, flapping the paint smooth onto your paper. It's not like a pencil, it's more like a paddle. So I'm using brown only to make my floor. Next, you will get to use all of the paint on your palette to mix a beautiful light brown. It takes a while to mix your paint, so when you still see a swirl of ice cream, that's not quite finished. You need to keep mixing your paint until all of the brown and white are nicely blended together. We can see it still looks like chocolate and vanilla, so it's not quite done. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit to get it nice and mixed. Once you have a light caramel brown, you can use your brush the same way back and forth to give it a light brown coat of paint. Notice I go all the way to the edges of the paper to paint my entire wall, leaving no white anywhere on the paper. I come all the way down to the line for the floor and paint back and forth a smooth, thin layer using my flat brush. That's all for today. Have fun painting your background.